Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to be diving deep into a topic that's familiar to everyone, but probably more complex than you realize.
Oh, yeah, definitely more than meets the eye.
Exactly. We're talking about the history of Christmas cards.
Christmas cards, right. Those things we all get in the mail.
Yep, those ones. And to guide us today, we've got two great sources articles from the Postal Museum in the UK.
The Postal Museum.
And the Smithsonian. And spoiler alert, folks, it's not just about reindeer and glitter and all that.
Oh, no.
There's a lot more going on here. We're about to uncover some fascinating social and cultural forces that shaped those festive greetings. You know the ones you find in your mailbox every December.
You know, they actually offer a glimpse into evolving traditions, artistic trends, even a bit of social controversy.
Ooh, controversy.
Like
Yes,
it.
indeed. Now you've got me intrigued. Okay, so where do we even begin? I mean, someone had to send the first Christmas card ever, right?
Well, you're absolutely right. And that someone was Sir Henry Cole, a prominent figure in Victorian England.
Victorian England, very fancy.
It was, picture this, it's 1843, and he's absolutely overwhelmed with holiday correspondence.
I can relate to that.
Sound familiar? Instead of resigning himself to endless letter writing, he comes up with a solution. The first commercial Christmas card.
So the first Christmas card was essentially a time-saving measure.
In a way, yes. A way to streamline those holiday greetings.
I have to admit, I can relate to that. But what did this first card even look like?
Well, imagine a triptych design.
A triptych.
Yes, like a 3-panel painting. The central panel shows a family enjoying a Christmas feast, while the side panels depict acts of charity feeding the hungry, clothing the poor.
That's interesting. So right from the start, there was this idea of giving back, woven into the tradition.
Yeah, it's a striking combination of celebration and social awareness.
But you mentioned controversy earlier. What was controversial about it?
Well, if you take a closer look at that family feast, you'll notice something that raised eyebrows at the time.
Okay, let's look closer.
Children are depicted enjoying glasses of wine alongside the adults. This was during the rise of the temperance movement, a social movement advocating for total abstinence from alcohol.
So not exactly a kid-friendly image by today's standards.
Not at all. You can imagine how depicting children with wine was seen as quite shocking by some.
Wow, that's really interesting. It shows how even from the beginning, these cards reflected the social and cultural anxieties of the time. So were these early cards an immediate hit? Did everyone start sending them right away?
Not quite. Remember, these first cards were expensive. They were printed only on one side and often featured romantic imagery, more suited for Valentine's Day than Christmas.
Romantic imagery.
Yeah, it's true.
That's a surprising detail.
It makes sense, though, when you consider that many early Christmas cards were produced by Valentine's card printers.
Oh, I see. So they were just trying to expand their business.
Exactly. But things started to shift in the 1860s with advancements in printing technology.
Printing technology, that's a big one.
It was huge. Suddenly, cards became cheaper, the designs became more diverse, and by the 1870s, sending Christmas cards was a firmly established tradition in Britain.
So the Victorians really embraced it. And their cards, I'm guessing they looked quite different from the ones we see today.
You're right, they were. The imagery is incredibly diverse, ranging from nature scenes and pagan Yuletide symbols to the more familiar robins and Father Christmas figures.
I love that kind of historical imagery.
It's fascinating. But one trend that really stands out is the popularity of postal-themed imagery.
Postal-themed.
Yes, postal-themed. You see it everywhere.
No, that's unexpected. Why would that be such a popular motif on Christmas cards?
Well, think about it. Christmas cards and the postal service were intrinsically linked. The introduction of the penny post in 1840 had made mail much cheaper and more accessible.
That's right, penny post.
And as a result, suddenly everyone was sending letters and cards. Postmen became these iconic figures symbolizing communication and connection, especially during the holidays.
So Christmas cards were riding the wave of this new communication revolution, and the postal service became a symbol of that change. It's kind of like how we still love those Christmas movies with horse-drawn sleighs, even though most of us get our packages delivered by Amazon these days.
You got it. It's a glimpse into how people grapple with those big cultural shifts. And speaking of those postal themes, the Postal Museum has some amazing examples.
Oh, tell me about them.
Well, there's this card from the late 19th century. It depicts a mail coach guard heroically transporting mail through a snowy landscape.
Oh, I've seen those old-timey images.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is that mail coaches were already outdated by then, but that romantic image persisted.
People love nostalgia.
They do. They really do. And then there's this delightful postcard from around 1920 called Christmas Greetings from Toyland. It shows a postman delivering mail in this whimsical toy setting.
Oh, that sounds cute.
It is. The focus again is on that postman's uniform, that instantly recognizable symbol of holiday cheer.
So these early cards, they really do offer a window into Victorian culture and how they viewed Christmas. And they also highlight those universal themes of connection and change.
Exactly. Those themes are as relevant today as they were back then.
Absolutely. And, speaking of those red-coated postmen, there's another iconic image that's forever linked to Christmas cards. And surprisingly, it also ties back to the Postal Service. The robin.
Ah, yes, you're right.
Robins became so popular on those Victorian Christmas cards, often shown delivering messages or perched on those red pillar boxes.
It's a classic image, isn't it?
It is. But I'm curious, how did robins become associated with Christmas, especially in connection with mail?
Well, one theory links it back to those postmen we were just talking about. Those red uniformed postal workers were actually nicknamed robins because of their bright jackets.
Oh, because of their uniforms.
Exactly. We even have literary evidence of this. In Anthony Trollope's novel Framley Parsonage, published in 1860, the characters referred to their local postman as a robin postman.
So the robin on Christmas cards might have started as a playful nod to those robins who delivered the mail. It's like a full circle moment.
That's one way to look at it. And of course, there are other theories too. Robins are a familiar sight in winter, and some believe they were associated with Christ's blood because of their red breast.
So there's a whole other layer of symbolism and folklore tied into those robin images.
You're right. It's a reminder that these cards weren't just about sending greetings. They were also a way to express cultural beliefs and traditions.
Makes you wonder what messages we're unintentionally sending with our modern cards.
Food for thought, for sure. Okay, so we've covered the origins of Christmas cards in England, but did this trend make its way across the Atlantic? Did it come to America?
We're all about America over here.
Well, in 1875, just over 30 years after Sir Henry Cole's innovation, a Prussian immigrant named Louis Prang created the first American Christmas card.
Louis Prang, okay, I've heard that name.
He had a print shop near Boston, and he was determined to bring his own artistic vision to these festive greetings.
30 years, that's a pretty significant lag time. It makes you wonder how those early American cards differed from their British counterparts. What did Prang's first card look like? Was it similar?
It's actually quite surprising. Unlike Cole's card, which focused on a family scene and acts of charity, Prang's first card didn't even feature a traditional holiday image.
Really? No holiday image?
Nope. It was simply a beautiful painting of a flower with the words Merry Christmas.
A flower. That's so different from the British cards with all their postmen and robins and everything.
It is. It marks a distinct shift in style. Early American cards tended to emphasize artistry and subtle imagery. They often featured scenes from nature animals or landscapes that could have been from any time of year.
So like a precursor to the modern trend of sending nature-themed or non-religious holiday cards.
You could say that. And remember, this was a time when America was still defining its own cultural identity, distinct from its European roots.
Like they were saying, we're doing Christmas our way.
Exactly. And this emphasis on art had a profound impact on how Christmas cards developed in America. There were design competitions. Publishers were offering cash prizes for the best designs.
Wow, cash prizes. That's serious business.
People even started collecting Christmas cards like they would art prints.
So they were considered collectible items, almost like their own little art movement.
You got it. And to get a sense of how seriously people took these cards, newspapers even started reviewing new card designs each season, just like they would books or films.
That's amazing. It shows how deeply ingrained they were in American culture from the very beginning. So we've got beautiful nature scenes, collectible cards, newspaper reviews. What's next in the American Christmas card saga?
Well, things take a more familiar turn in 1915 with the emergence of a company you've probably heard of, Hallmark.
A hallmark. The name is practically synonymous with Christmas cards today. What did they bring to the table that made them so successful?
Well, for one, they introduced the folded card format we still use today. You know, that 4-inch by 6-inch card that fits neatly in an envelope.
Ah, yeah, the standard card size.
Before that, many cards were postcard style or larger unfolded designs.
That's a major change. I can see why that caught on. It's much more practical for writing longer messages.
And for expressing more personal sentiments, Hallmark was all about innovation. They recognized that people wanted more space to write, but didn't always want to send a full letter. So the folded card format struck a balance.
It's interesting to think about how those small changes in format can actually reflect larger shifts in how people want to communicate. Did we lose some of that unique charm, though? You know, those early oversized cards with their intricate designs and unusual formats?
It's a valid point. There's always this tension between innovation and preserving the unique qualities of the original. But Hallmark's influence extended beyond just the folded card. They're also famous for their collaborations with artists.
That's right, the Hallmark artists. Now we're talking, tell me about some of those iconic artists.
Well, they commissioned some truly big names, but perhaps the most impactful in terms of shaping American Christmas imagery was Norman Rockwell.
Norman Rockwell. His work is so classic Americana.
Exactly. He created a series of heartwarming Christmas scenes that captured an idealized vision of American life. And those images are still reprinted and cherished today.
I can just picture those scenes in my head. Those cozy family gatherings, the kids playing in the snow. It's all very nostalgic.
It is. It really captures a certain era. But out of all those incredible designs, did Hallmark have a particular bestseller?
I'm curious now, what was the crowd favorite?
Their all-time best-selling Christmas card is called Three Little Angels.
Three Little Angels. I wonder what that looks
It
like.
features, well, three adorable little angels.
Hmm.
Two of them are praying, and the third one with a slightly askew halo peers out at the viewer with these big baby blue eyes.
Well, that sounds cute.
It is. And the sentiment inside reads, God bless you, keep you, and love you at Christmas time and always.
It's sweet and sentimental. A classic Hallmark message.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Simple but timeless.
Huh.
A message of love and blessings delivered with a touch of childlike charm.
No wonder it's been a hit for decades. But Hallmark's influence went beyond just card designs, right? They really played a big role in solidifying the Christmas card tradition here in America.
Absolutely. Their success reflects the growing popularity of Christmas cards. But there's one event in particular that really cemented the card's place in American culture: the introduction of the first U.S. Christmas stamp in 1962.
Ah, Christmas stamp. That's a big deal. It's like official recognition from the government.
It was. And there's a fun anecdote about that first stamp.
Oh, I love a good anecdote.
The post office initially ordered 350 million of these 4-cent green and white stamps, each depicting a wreath and 2 candles. But they severely underestimated the demand.
They underestimated demand.
They did. They ended up having to do a special second printing. And because they didn't have enough of the right size paper, those second printing stamps are actually collector's items today.
That's so cool. I bet those are worth a pretty penny now.
I wouldn't be surprised. So by 1962, Christmas cards are a national phenomenon with their own dedicated stamp. Where does the story go from there? How do we get from those early designs to the cards we see lining store shelves today? Well, that's where things get really interesting. We're about to enter the world of pop-up cards, video cards, and a whole lot more. Hallmark was huge. You know, they were really the big name in the 20th century for Christmas cards.
Yeah, Hallmark. When you think Christmas cards, you think Hallmark.
Exactly. But in recent decades, we've seen a shift.
A shift.
Yeah, a real move towards smaller, more niche publishers.
You know what? You're right. I've noticed that too. Like when you go to those independent bookstores or gift shops, you see so much more variety in designs these days.
Exactly. It's not just your typical Santa and reindeer anymore.
Not at all.
These smaller publishers are pushing the boundaries of what a Christmas card can even be.
Oh, yeah. In what way?
I mean, we're talking intricate pop-up cards, video cards that play holiday greetings, even audio cards that play music.
Oh, it's like they've become these mini multimedia experiences.
Yeah, almost like mini works of art and technology rolled into one.
It's incredible how far they've come from Sir Henry Cole's simple triptych.
Right. Talk about innovation.
Do you think this move towards more elaborate cards is just a novelty, though? Or is there something deeper going on?
I think it's a combination of things.
Like what?
Well, for one, there's this desire for unique and personalized gifts.
Right. People want something special.
They do. Things that stand out from those mass-produced options. And with so much of our communication happening online these days.
Oh, yeah. Everything's digital now.
Right. A tangible creative card feels all the more special.
It's true. There's something about holding that physical card in your hand.
Yeah.
It feels more personal, more thoughtful than just a quick text or email.
Exactly. It's a way to make a statement to show you put thought and effort into your holiday greetings.
And it's not just about the format, right? The messages inside the cards are changing too, aren't they?
Absolutely. Modern Christmas cards are reflecting our evolving culture and values.
So
We're seeing more diverse sentiments, cards that celebrate different family structures, interfaith holidays, even cards that acknowledge the challenges of the season. Things like dealing with grief or loneliness.
I've seen those cards. It's nice to see that shift, like a recognition that the holidays aren't always perfect, and that's okay.
Yeah, a more realistic and inclusive approach.
So we're seeing more diversity in the designs and the messages.
That's really interesting. I wonder if the demographics of who's sending and receiving these cards has changed as well.
That's a great question. It would be interesting to see some research on that. Are younger generations embracing cards in new ways, or is it primarily older generations keeping the tradition alive?
Yeah. And how do cultural and regional differences play into all of this? It seems like there's a lot to unpack there.
A lot to think about for
Yep.
sure.
But with all these changes, with the
Mhm.
rise of e-cards and social media greetings, do you think physical Christmas cards are still relevant in our digital age?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It is. Are those little pieces of cardboard going the way of the dinosaurs?
I don't think so. While e-cards and social media greetings are convenient, I think there's something about that tangible, personal touch of a physical card that will always have a special place.
You really think so?
I do. You can't replicate that experience in the digital world.
You're right. There's just something special about holding a card in your hand, seeing someone's handwriting, feeling the texture of the paper. It connects you to the sender in a way that a digital message just can't.
Exactly. And think about the effort involved. Choosing a card, writing a message, finding an address, physically mailing it.
Yeah, it takes time.
It does. It shows a level of care and effort that's often missing in our fast-paced digital world.
I know. I always appreciate getting a handwritten card. It feels like the sender really went out of their way to connect with me.
Right. It's a way to slow down, to be present, and to truly connect with someone. And that's why I think so many people still value those physical cards.
You make a good point. Maybe e-cards aren't the enemy of traditional cards. Maybe they're just another way to express those same holiday sentiments, just in a different format.
Exactly. They both have their place.
And as long as we're being mindful and thoughtful about how we use them, both physical and digital greetings can serve that purpose of connection.
I agree. It's all about being intentional instead of just going through the motions.
So instead of blasting out a generic e-card to your entire contact list,
Uh-huh.
maybe take the time to choose cards that really resonate with the recipient. Maybe share a specific memory or an inside joke.
Right. Make it personal.
Make it clear that you're not just checking a box, but genuinely reaching out to connect.
Well said. And thinking about that evolution from physical to digital, it makes you wonder, what will the future of Christmas cards hold?
What do you think? Flying cars and holographic cards.
Maybe. Will we see a resurgence of handwritten notes, or will high-tech cards with video messages and sound effects become the norm? It's exciting to imagine the possibilities.
It is. But no matter what technological advancements we see, I think that core desire to connect with loved ones during the holidays will always remain constant.
Absolutely. I think that's what makes this tradition so special.
It's a tradition that's evolved and adapted over time,
Uh,
but it's still going strong. And I think that says a lot about the human need for connection.
I agree. It's a reminder that even in our increasingly digital world, those personal touches still matter.
They do, and they always will. It's really amazing when you think about it. We've gone from those Victorian era cards to these high-tech creations we see today.
It's quite a journey.
It is, and it really shows how these cards reflect all those broader cultural shifts happening around us.
It's true. We've seen how Christmas cards have mirrored all sorts of things, changing social norms, artistic trends, even anxieties about technology and connection.
It's all there in those little pieces of cardboard.
It is, and yet through it all, that core desire to connect with loved ones during the holidays, it's remained constant.
Yeah, that human need for connection, it's powerful.
It is. I think that's why these cards have endured for so long. Trends come and go,
Uh-huh.
but that need for connection, especially during those special times of year, it seems to be a universal human experience.
It's so true. And it's funny, when you think about how we started this whole deep dive talking about Sir Henry Cole,
Yeah, the guy who started it all.
right, and how he created the first Christmas card as a way to save himself some time during the holidays.
A classic time-saving hack.
Exactly. But in a way, that time-saving element is still part of their appeal today, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Well, think about it. Our lives are so busy now more than ever.
Oh, tell me about it, especially during the holidays.
Right. It's like a whirlwind of shopping and parties and travel.
Exactly. And in the midst of all that, taking the time to choose a card, to write a personal message and physically mail it, it's a deliberate act.
It is.
It's a way of saying, I'm thinking of you in a way that goes beyond a quick text or email.
It's true. There's just something about receiving a physical card in the mail that feels so much more personal.
You're right. It's like a tangible reminder that someone cares enough to put in that effort.
It's a little piece of their time and energy delivered straight to your mailbox.
Exactly. And it's
Yeah.
something you can hold on to. You can revisit it long after the holidays are over.
You know, you make a good point about that tangible aspect of cards. I think that's one of the reasons they continue to resonate with people, even in our digital world. But speaking of the digital world, we have to address the elephant in the room, e-cards.
Oh, yeah. E-cards, those digital greetings.
Exactly. Do they have a place in the future of Christmas greetings?
Of course they do. They offer a lot of advantages.
Like what?
Well, they're convenient for one.
Definitely convenient.
They're environmentally friendly.
That's a big plus.
And they can be a really fun way to share those animated greetings or personalized messages.
And let's be real, sometimes life gets in the way, and an e-card can be a lifesaver when you've missed the deadline for mailing those physical cards.
Sure, that.
But I think the key, as we've discussed, is to be mindful of how we use both physical and digital greetings.
Absolutely. Just like with any form of communication, it's all about being intentional and thoughtful.
So instead of just blasting out a generic e-card to your entire contact list,
Right.
maybe take a little extra time to choose a card that really reflects the recipient's personality or your shared history. You know, personalize that message, share a specific memory or an inside joke.
Make it clear that you're not just checking a box, but genuinely taking the time to connect.
Exactly. So whether you choose a traditional card, a high-tech creation, or a digital greeting, the most important thing is the sentiment behind it.
Couldn't agree more. It's about taking the time to reach out to the people we care about and let them know they're in our thoughts during this special time of year.
And who knows what the future holds? Maybe we'll be sending holographic cards or personalized video messages beamed directly to our loved ones' devices. The possibilities are endless.
Now that would be something.
It would. But no matter how technology shapes the future of Christmas cards, I have a feeling that core desire to connect with the people we love will always be at the heart of it all.
It will. I think that's what makes this tradition so enduring and so meaningful.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive into the fascinating world of Christmas cards. We've covered a lot of ground today, from their surprising origins to their ever-evolving forms.
And don't forget that enduring power of connection.
Right, the connection they represent. I think it's been a truly enlightening journey.
It has, and I hope our listeners have enjoyed it as much as we have.
I hope so too. And as we head into this holiday season, I encourage everyone to take a moment to appreciate those Christmas cards. You know, look at them with a newfound understanding of their rich history and the thoughtful intentions behind them. And remember, whether you're sending a traditional card, a high-tech creation, or a heartfelt digital message, what matters most is that you're taking the time to connect with the people you care about and spreading a little bit of holiday cheer.
Well said. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays from the Deep Dive. We'll be back in the new year with more fascinating deep dives into the world of knowledge and ideas. Until then, stay curious.